As you can see, my Mon Guerlain perfume collection has got, I mean, maybe slightly out of hand, but I fell in love so hard with the original Mon Guerlain, and I just kind of also fell in love with so many of the flankers that I just decided I was going to go for it, and I was going to get as many as I could get my hands on. So it's time for me to do an updated video. I'm going to cut to a different shot so I can talk about these one by one, and then I'll come back at the end. But yeah, so I've managed to get a couple of quite hard to find ones as well from my searching via Vinted and eBay. So I will talk to you about all of these guys, and then I'll come back to this this setup again right at the end. It's only right to start off with the original OG Mon Guerlain from Guerlain. This is a perfume that came out in 2017, and it's funny because I had perfumes that smelled like this, but I never actually smelled Mon Guerlain until after I already had like Guess Seductive Noir and Chill Out from Oriflame, and in my head this was a much older perfume than that. But it's so magical. I've fallen so in love with this. So this is a perfume by Delphine Jelk and Thierry Wasser, and it just hits so many notes that I love. It has lavender, which I adore. It's cozy, it's sweet. I love a sweet lavender. I was completely in love with Twilight from Lush before I came across this. But this to me is a much more wearable perfume than Twilight. That's one that I end up spraying on my bed rather than my skin. But this also has benzoin, which I love because it has this warmth to it. It's got licorice, sandalwood, coumarin. It's got so many things in this I love. It's also got a couple of things that I don't normally love, but I have to say, this perfume is so perfect for me. It's so cozy. It's become like a comfort blanket for me. Oh, it has a bright freshness, but then it has this lovely creaminess, and it has a absolutely glorious, sweet and comforting lavender. I love lavender perfumes, so it makes sense that I would absolutely love nearly all of the Mon Guerlains. So this original has the gold band, and a lot of these you can only tell the difference because of the band that is around the lid. It's a bit of a shame that they, I mean, it looks very classy obviously, so that's probably why they don't change it, but it would be good if sometimes they had them written on. But unless you get, as I have with one of mine, unless you get a tester bottle, they don't have anything written on them, so you have to look at the underneath. But yeah, so the original has this gold band, this gold textured band. The full set of notes for this are lavender, bergamot. In the top, middle notes are iris, jasmine, sambac and rose. Base notes Tahitian vanilla, coumarin, Australian sandalwood, licorice, benzoin and patchouli. And it is just an absolute masterpiece. I mean, I think this is a perfume that has been duped loads of times. It's been ripped off. It's been obviously an inspiration for a lot of others. Even the Kayali wedding silk, is it silk santal? Velvet santal. That smells a little bit like Mon Guerlain. There's so many perfumes that have a real similarity to this. So let's though have a look through the flankers. So it makes sense to me to start with one that is almost identical. So this one's hard to find. People talk about this a lot. This next one, I'm going to put them next to each other just first up, so you can see how similar they are. So this is Mon Guerlain Eau de Parfum Sensuelle. Now, they look almost identical. Can you see? They've got, I would say, although it's hard to say because this one's been used more, this has a slightly more caramelly colour. And maybe it's got a very slight different indentation on here, but they are almost identical. And I would say in smell, Mon Guerlain Eau Sensuelle is almost identical to the original. So I'm just trying to, smelling it from the bottle, pretty much identical. I have tried wearing this one. I'll actually, while I'm at it, I will show you the box, because I actually have the box on hand for this one. So, Eau de Parfum Sensuelle. People talk about this one being more similar to a very popular version of Mon Guerlain, which you definitely can't, I mean, it's almost impossible to find. It's the one that has a butter note in it. It's called Mon Exclusive, and I think it's kind of supposed to be smoother, sweeter, more kind of caramelly, more buttery. And so people say that this guy, Eau Sensuelle, is more similar to that, and so people love it. I haven't smelt that version of Mon Guerlain, but what I can say is that as far as I can tell, there's the differences between this and the original are almost non-existent. So this has exactly the same notes: lavender, bergamot, iris, jasmine, sambac, rose, Tahitian vanilla, coumarin, Australian sandalwood, licorice, benzoin and patchouli. Identical notes. All I'd say about this is I feel like maybe the licorice is slightly lower down in the mix and the patchouli is maybe slightly lower down in the mix. And whereas in the original, the coumarin and vanilla I think is really balanced. I think in this one maybe the vanilla is just amped up just a tiny, tiny bit. But apart from that, there is honestly, to my nose, really hardly any difference at all, if any. I think if you wear them, if you really know the original really well, you might be able to sense a little tiny bit of difference, but generally speaking, I think they're pretty much exactly the same perfume, but maybe with a different name that was sold in a different area of the world. So yeah, for me, I don't need to keep Eau Sensuelle because I have the original, and as there's so many people out there who insist that this one is their favourite version, I feel like I'd rather pass this on to someone who really, really wants this version. And then when I finish my bottle of the original, I will just buy a big bottle of that original one. But yeah, so Eau Sensuelle, I think, is pretty much exactly the same as the original Mon Guerlain. So next up, it seems only right to do the other one that smells also very, very similar to the original, because it is just an intense version of the original. And this guy, this little baby I've got here, this is Mon Guerlain Eau de Parfum Intense. This has, as you can see, the darker, it's kind of a very dark pinky purple with a slight brownish tone, really beautiful. I imagine that this liquid is probably going to get darker as I wear this, but this for me is Mon Guerlain for very cold weather. So I think this is one of the best versions of an intense perfume I've smelt, in that it really, to me, does smell like just an intense version of the original. It doesn't smell like they've changed loads of notes. It just feels like they've amped some of them up. So in this you have lavender, mandarin orange, bergamot in the top. In the mid you have Tahitian vanilla, Madagascar vanilla, iris, jasmine, sambac and rose. In the base, coumarin, patchouli, licorice, benzoin, Australian sandalwood and white musk. So you'll see, again, pretty much the same notes, but with added vanilla. And I think this one has maybe a touch more lavender, a lot more vanilla, and a touch more patchouli. But because the patchouli is so nicely balanced with the licorice and the lavender, it doesn't put someone like me off, and I don't really like patchouli, generally speaking, in perfumes. This just smells like a more vanillic and stronger take on the original Mon Guerlain. So Mon Guerlain, I really love it, but especially at certain times of year, and definitely when you first get your bottle, it's not massively strong. It's quite a subtle perfume, and it doesn't last for a really long time. I would say maybe like 4 hours, 4 or 5 maybe. This one lasts longer, it's definitely stronger, it's got more throat. So if you like stronger perfumes, this is the one for you. I would say personally that I don't love this as much as the original, but I really like having one that is stronger for really cold weather, because I feel like the original Mon Guerlain gets a little bit choked out in the outside world if I wear it in cold, really cold winter weather. So this is my cold winter Mon Guerlain, and the original Mon Guerlain is just my any time of year, and I love it, you know. Beautiful, really good investment, this one. So now let's talk about the EDT. So this is the Mon Guerlain EDT. Now in my last video, I mean, I kick myself. Sometimes I really need to keep hold of things for a little bit longer. But in my original video, I had a partial bottle of this, like a 50ml it was. This is actually a 30ml partial bottle because I sold my other one thinking that it didn't smell very nice on me. And then when I was thinking about doing this updated video, I got myself a little sample of the EDT, and when I wore it, I thought it was beautiful. And I was like, what an idiot. I got rid of my bigger bottle. Never mind. If I can find it again, I will. And so I bought this. I mean, this was an absolute steal. I got it for about £12 on eBay, this partial bottle. It's like 15ml left in the bottle, I'd say. This is a gorgeous version. I can see why this is some people's favourite. Because I do think there's more vanilla in this than there is in the original. At least the original has a real combination of tonka and vanilla. This is caramel and vanilla. So it's a little bit of a different form of sweetness here. So this, as you can see, has the silver band. It's exactly the same texture as the other Mon Guerlains that we've seen so far, but it's silver, so that's how you tell. This little baby has notes of lavender, mandarin, orange and bergamot in the top, mid notes of jasmine, sambac, orange blossom and ylang ylang in the mid. The base notes are Tahitian vanilla, caramel, orris, violet and benzoin. So this is sharper and brighter than the original, but it is very, very sugary sweet at the same time. So I don't think this is one that I would necessarily reach for in hot weather. I think this is still, for me, a kind of cool weather perfume because it's very, very sweet thanks to the vanilla and the caramel. But in this one, you definitely still get the lavender. It definitely still smells like Mon Guerlain, but you get, I think, that added ylang, which is beautiful. But then you're getting a sharper violet, which makes it quite interesting. But what I struggled with when I first tried this perfume was the jasmine sambac, because the jasmine sambac in Mon Guerlain, and generally actually in the Guerlain perfumes, I find smells a little bit like a cleaning product. I find it smells a bit antiseptic. And to be honest, when I've worn this, even if I really put my nose to my skin and I can smell that jasmine, I do still get that antiseptic smell. But the sillage that comes off this one is so delicious and beautiful. Yeah, it's definitely more fruity. It's a little bit sharper. It's got more of a kind of a slightly more fizzy vibe to it, which is probably coming from that violet, to be honest. But you still got the essential elements of Mon Guerlain, and then you have this lovely vanilla caramel in the base, which is super, super pretty. So yeah, this is a beautiful perfume. I can see why people really love this one. It really, again, like, they've really discontinued some of people's favourites from this line. It's a shame. But, you know, I got this one on eBay. You can find this on eBay. It's relatively straightforward to find it, and it's gorgeous. It really is. I mean, you can get, even though it's discontinued, you can get like 100ml bottles of this for cheaper than the original will cost you if you buy it new. So yeah, really, really gorgeous. Next up, we have one that I bought on eBay, again as a partial bottle. This one's also discontinued. So this is a tester bottle. So I will have to explain why it looks the way it does. So Eau de Parfum Florale. So it's a tester bottle, which is why it has the Eau de Parfum Florale printed on it, although I find that really helpful. Now, it came without a lid. So what I did, because, you know, I want all the lids to look a bit different. So I bought a empty bottle for literally £1 on eBay, and I took the lid. It was actually an empty EDT, so this was silver, and then I just kind of painted the colour onto this. It's actually not this purple in real life, the Eau de Parfum Florale. It's a little bit closer to one that I'll show you later. In fact, very, very similar, I think, to the lid. But I wanted it to be noticeably different to the others, so I painted it this kind of purpley colour. Anyway, so normally this would be a kind of almost rose gold colour around this lid. But this is Eau de Parfum Florale. This, again, is a favourite of quite a few YouTubers. There's a few YouTubers who don't have the original Mon Guerlain. They have Eau de Parfum Florale, and this is their favourite version. And I can't understand in terms of the fact that this definitely isn't my favourite version. Like, I think this is beautiful. I really like it. But absolutely, the original is my favourite version because I love that licorice. I love how that perfume smells. This, again, it definitely retains the original Mon Guerlain EDP DNA. So it still is obviously a Mon Guerlain, but it is more fruity with the citruses. It's got peach in this. It's way more floral, and it doesn't have the tonka and vanilla mixture. It doesn't have the caramel and vanilla mixture. It just has the vanilla, and it is quite vanillic. This one, the full set of notes is lavender, bergamot, mandarin orange and lemon. The mid notes are floral notes, peony, jasmine, sambac, ylang ylang, neroli, peach and lily of the valley. Base notes are vanilla, iris and sandalwood. So you're missing the licorice, you're missing the patchouli, you're missing the kind of benzoin-y, spicy, woody, well, not woody, you've still got the sandalwood, but you're missing some of that kind of more robust, interesting, darker, spicy feel that you get in the original. And therefore this to me smells a little bit more straightforward and not quite as interesting, but it's really wearable. It's like such an easy reach. It's not challenging at all. It's super pretty. Again, it's got more of the jasmine, but as I've been wearing this one, it's been really interesting because the deep dry down of this really, really reminds me of Lalique Le Parfum, which is a interesting green vanilla with loads of heliotrope and a bit of almond. So it has a bay leaf note, which makes it really interesting. That's not what this smells like. This very much smells like a floral version of Mon Guerlain that dries down into a very vanillic, lovely, gently floral scent. And as this just says floral notes, I do kind of wonder if there's heliotrope in this, because it definitely has a vanilla very similar to Lalique Le Parfum in the base, but then it also has this kind of slight feel I get from that one, which is from the heliotrope. But yeah, this is super pretty. Like I said, it's fruitier, it's kind of easier going. It's not as challenging as some people might find the original. If you're fussy about licorice and patchouli and benzoin, or like some of those heavier, more spicy, ambery feel notes, you know, this probably would be one that you'd love. Unfortunately, it's another one that's discontinued, but again, you can get these on eBay. That's where I got this. It wasn't particularly expensive. So yeah, really, really good, really beautiful perfume. Really, really like it. Very happy to have it. I'll wear this one loads because it's an easy chuck on. But yeah, still has that beautiful Mon Guerlain DNA. You haven't lost it. So let's have a look. I'm kind of moving like in terms of what's the furthest away from the original profile in a way. So this is my second favourite. I think I already said, but oh my god, I love this perfume. And when you sniff it from the cap, it doesn't really do it justice until you sprayed it on your skin. This is Mon Guerlain Sparkling Bouquet. This is the one that they're still making. So the ones you can get now on the official website is the Eau de Parfum, so the original, the Eau de Parfum Intense, and then this one, the Sparkling Bouquet. This, I feel, is what they brought out to replace the EDT. Now, as I said, for me, the EDT, not really a summer-appropriate perfume. It's very, very sweet. It's not quite as kind of creamy and enveloping as the original in that way, but it's very close. Sparkling Bouquet is perfect for hot weather. Or at least warm weather, because it's still quite sweet. It's fresher, it's sheerer, it's kind of soapy, but it still has the essence of Mon Guerlain. So it still has that delicious lavender. It's so pretty because this has a beautiful juicy pear in it, and I love pear perfumes. So, I mean, I'm not at all surprised that I fell in love with this as soon as I got the sample. So this is top notes of pear, bergamot and mandarin orange, mid notes of lavender, peony and jasmine sambac, base notes Tahitian vanilla, white musk and sandalwood. So you've really got that pear, you've really got that lavender. I'm not getting a huge amount of jasmine, so it's maybe more peony. And then you've got musk, sandalwood and Tahitian vanilla, but you're definitely getting a kind of clean, soapy, but not shampooey. It's not at all shampooey. I hate shampooey perfumes. This is a clean, soapy, like a bar soap or like a bubble bath or something. And then you've got this, if you can see, this is silver, the same way as the EDT is. But if you compare them, you can see this has a very bubbly, big texture in comparison to the EDT, which has like a smooth silver. This is also a kind of brighter silver when you compare them, you know. Absolutely love this perfume, and I find that this one lasts perfectly well. I've seen people on YouTube saying it doesn't last, it's not worth the money. I heartily disagree. This lasts for equally as long as the original EDP on me. It's at least 4 hours, if not more. And it's so scrumptious. I'm so happy to have this because this for me is the warm weather Mon Guerlain. This is such a good perfume to wear when it's hot or when it's warm. I wouldn't probably wear this in like super high heat just because it is still quite sweet. It's got like a kind of sugary pear sweetness as well as a hint of vanilla, but it's beautiful. I love Sparkling Bouquet. I'm super happy to have this and I'm glad they're still making it. So next up we have the one that I think is the best for high heat. You can still get this on eBay even though it's been discontinued. This is Bloom of Rose and this is the EDT formulation. They did later on come out with an EDP formulation, but I had that perfume and I didn't like it. It kind of completely for me removed the essential elements of Mon Guerlain in that I couldn't really smell the lavender. It had a lot of jasmine, a lot of rose. It wasn't very sweet. I found it a bit screechy and sharp. And it just didn't do it for me. I didn't enjoy that perfume, so I sold it on because I just wasn't going to wear it. And then when I was doing my last video, I had a sample of this, but I had a full bottle of the EDP because having watched people talk about it on YouTube, everyone seemed to not really like the Bloom of Rose EDT, but people preferred the EDP. And I was really surprised about that because when I was comparing them, I was like, well, clearly the Bloom of Rose EDT is much, much nicer. So it's got a kind of greeny coloured liquid, if you can see, like it's got a slight green tone. And then this is like a beautiful dark kind of, it's like a very dark magenta. It's so pretty, a very slight purpley tone. Yeah, this one, it still has a hint of that Mon Guerlain DNA in it, which I really appreciate, but it's nowhere near as sweet. This is kind of it's not, I don't think it's quite as sharp, maybe, or maybe it's just not as screechy as the EDP, but the EDT Bloom of Rose is juicier and full of citrus, so it's a citrusy perfume. It's still got the lavender, so the notes here are top notes of citruses, lavender, mid notes of neroli, Bulgarian rose and jasmine sambac, base notes Tahitian vanilla and sandalwood. Now looking at these notes, I shouldn't be too keen on this because I don't really like neroli. I find it quite bitter a lot of the time. I don't really like jasmine sambac specifically. I don't like the Guerlain jasmine sambac at all, really. And I'm not crazy for rose, but somehow this perfume just smells so beautiful on my skin. It's got just enough of that vanilla to stop it being too sharp, but it doesn't come across as vanillic. It's clean, it's fresh, it's got a sheerness to it. It kind of just smells like a general bouquet of flowers. It's not like massively rosy, but at the same time it's not like a jasmine perfume or a neroli perfume. It's just a lovely mixture of lovely, delicious florals. It's super pretty, it's super easy to wear. It's a really good one for hot weather. So yeah, this is in my kind of easy reaches, and this is definitely a hot weather perfume for me, or at least warm. I can wear it in hot or warm, so spring, summer, but I'm more likely to go for Sparkling Bouquet if it's a little bit milder, and this one if it's a little bit hotter. So yeah, another beauty, absolute gorgeous. You can get it on eBay. And then I'm going to finish with one that's kind of a bit of a unicorn. I only managed to find one English language review of this, and there's not many reviews on Fragrantica, so I saw it. I got it from a company called Hoagie's. I think they're UK based because it's arrived super quick, but I know someone's selling it on Vinted in the UK, and you can get this directly from Hoagie's, but it was actually slightly better price via Hoagie's via eBay, if you see what I mean. So this is Mon Guerlain L'Essence. L'Essence. So lovely box, beautiful, same as all the Mon Guerlains, you know, they all look very similar. This one is a tropical version of Mon Guerlain. So I was like, well, I mean, I have to smell this, don't I? So this is the bottle. Gorgeous. Got quite a dark and slightly pink coloured juice, which is interesting. This was a brand new bottle, it hadn't been opened. This has a very similar lid colour to the Florale. So although I have obviously, I've painted my Florale up and it's a completely different colour, but the real Florale lid is closer to this colour. So Mon Guerlain L'Essence is really a very interesting perfume, and when I first smelt this on paper I was like, I think I might have to end up selling this one on, but I tried it on my skin and it was a whole different deal. So the notes listed here probably aren't entirely complete, to be honest, but it says top notes of lavender and bergamot, middle notes of frangipani and jasmine sambac, base notes of Tahitian vanilla and sandalwood. So the frangipani is voted as top. Totally understand that, because weirdly this perfume really feels to me like a mashup of Mon Guerlain and then Guerlain's Terracotta. So if you know Terracotta, that is a very kind of solar, beachy but classic lotiony perfume. It's not one that I like, that's the mad thing, but it makes sense because it's a Thierry Wasser perfume. And am I saying that right? It might be Thierry Wasser. But anyway, so he's obviously like a classic Guerlain perfumer, and he co-signed Mon Guerlain. So it kind of makes sense that he would end up making a flanker that smells like a mashup of those two perfumes. Terracotta is an incredibly buttery smelling floral perfume to me. It smells like a old-fashioned suntan lotion, but it also has a very buttery quality of tiare flower. To me, it smells like the classic kind of mix-up that you get with gardenia and with tuberose, those kind of perfumes where it kind of gets very, very buttery, kind of thick smelling, heavy and quite solar, and then turns into a body lotion kind of a smell. So this one has frangipani, which generally speaking is a note that I really enjoy. I've got some frangipani perfumes that I absolutely love. This is like a tropical, fruity, nuanced, citrusy kind of floral. Apparently like Plumera is another name for this one, but this I swear has gardenia in it, like a buttery gardenia or tiare flower. I think those are the same kind of genus of flowers, tiare and gardenia, but this, when you first spray it, you get a bit of Mon Guerlain. You definitely do. You get that same beautiful sweet lavender with it. It's got the same kind of fruitiness, the same hint of fruitiness that you get in Mon Guerlain. So even though it only lists bergamot, it's almost like there's something else going on here, but I can't quite put my finger on what it is. But then what starts coming through is those very solar feeling tropical floral notes. So yeah, it says frangipani. I am sure that there's also maybe tiare flower in this, and it's the same buttery tiare flower that you get in terracotta, because on paper this just turns into terracotta with a dash of Mon Guerlain. I'm very happy to say that on my skin, this is Mon Guerlain with a dash of terracotta. And I mean, they've done it. They have made me a tropical floral that has a kind of buttery tropical gardenia and tiare flower kind of note that I can actually wear because traditionally I can't wear these kind of perfumes. I just don't get on with them. But this one smells beautiful on the skin. It's so pretty. And I'd say that if you like tropical florals, and even, I mean, I don't, but I think that this would be very special to you if you did. If you like Mon Guerlain and you like terracotta, well, I mean, you could probably just mix those together. Maybe you could layer them and get the same kind of effect. But I do think that this is a very wearable take on a more tropical, more solar feeling perfume, because this one to me does not turn into a body lotion, and that's quite an essential part of why I don't like solar and tropical floral perfumes. They tend to get really lotiony, and that just is not a vibe that I can deal with. This one, because in the deep dry down you really get that perfectness that you have with Mon Guerlain, that starts pushing through again. So it doesn't leave you feeling like you've just slathered on a suntan lotion. It still feels like Mon Guerlain, and it is so pretty. So yeah, this is therefore going to be one I want to try out in warmer weather, because it doesn't really, tropical florals don't strike me as being quite winter and autumn appropriate. But yeah, this is going to be in my display waiting for me to try when the weather turns again. So yeah, that is my last Mon Guerlain in my collection. So the only one that I'm going to be passing on is the Parfum Sensuelle, because I just don't need one that smells that much like the original when I so adore the original. And that is obviously difficult to find. I managed to snap that up on eBay. So if someone else really wants that perfume, I'd rather they have it, and then I can just carry on with the regular one. But all the rest, they're staying with me. I love them. I am obsessed with this profile. I absolutely love Mon Guerlain. It is a perfume that now I crave wearing all the time, and I'm so glad that I have like a range, so I'm not always wearing the same thing, and there isn't really a season now that I can't wear this profile. I just love these perfumes. I'm so happy I tried them. I'm so happy I gave Mon Guerlain a chance, because although these are a little bit more expensive than I would normally pay, I think the most I've ever paid for one of these is £60, and that's because I've been getting discontinued or very special ones on eBay. My husband bought me my original one as a present, and so I just absolutely love these perfumes. I think Mon Guerlain is one of the best ranges ever. So yeah, so that's the reviews of these little guys, and we shall be jumping back to the full group together. So there you have it. Overall, this has been really interesting collecting all of these, and I do have some very genuine loves here, and it's really interesting how I've changed my mind about some of these, and there's others that I just thought I wouldn't like that I then really do like. And I think, yeah, the only one that's missing is the Bloom of Rose EDP, and I sold that one. I just couldn't get along with it. It just didn't really smell like Mon Guerlain, so I was like, there's not really much point in me having that. But yeah, so let me know down below if you guys have any of these. Let me know if you've managed to try the L'Essence or the Sensuelle and what you think about them. And let me know what your favourite Mon Guerlain is. And yeah, I hope this was helpful to anyone who's been looking at this range of perfumes. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. I think the original's probably always going to be my favourite, but I mean it's very closely, to be honest, followed by Sparkling Bouquet. I absolutely love Sparkling Bouquet. And yeah, there's just such a beautiful range of perfumes. They are so up my street. They're perfect, and there's one for every single occasion. So yeah, I hope this is helpful, guys, and like I said, let me know down below what your favourite is.